What Happens in the Woods is a true crime podcast. We discuss events that are often violent in nature. Listeners' discretion is advised.
Hello, campers. Happy Friday to you. Hopefully this week has treated you well. And now you can join us by the campfire while I bring you a new true crime case to dive into. Hi, Bryce.
Hello.
Any news for us? Any updates?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
Yeah, what you got?
Our friends across the pond are back in the lead.
Oh, the UK?
UK is in the lead.
Oh, well, that's new.
Yes, it is.
New development there.
It is.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thanks for listening.
Thank you.
That's it? That's all you got?
So far.
Okay. So far?
So far.
You let us know if there's anything else?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I have some special announcements.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The first. Probably the most important.
Yes.
Is welcome to the month of magic. For those who are in the know, October is the most special of months for me personally. Ladies and gents, welcome to my birth month.
Yes.
You knew it was coming.
Yeah.
This is the third year that I've celebrated my birthday with the podcast.
Yes.
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 But it's not only my birth month. It is also our dear friend and part of the Killer Bees, Beth.
That's right.
Over at Crimes and Closets. It is also her birth month.
Yay.
Oh, I get laughs.
Huh?
I get giggles. I get giggles and scoffs, and she gets a round of applause.
She's a honored guest. She's a distinguished guest.
I think I have some...
We celebrate you every episode.
No, you don't. How do you celebrate me? I don't get a round of applause. Okay.
I applaud you.
Okay, thanks.
Every day.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. And I guess since we're speaking of that, we will go ahead and touch on this. So we are, of course, gearing up with our friends from Crimes and Closets, Beth and Christy, for our annual Halloween spooky collab.
And well.
Yeah. They just wrapped up their serial killer September, and then on their Patreon, they do survivor stories. And honestly, the survivor stories that they had were harder for me to hear than, I don't have a problem talking about serial killers. I know that, it's not their forte. It's not their preferred type of cases to discuss, but I had a harder time listening to the survivor stories and what those people went through, those victims went through. It was something. So if you guys aren't listening to them and aren't on their Patreon, you probably should get on that. This year, though, we are doing our collab. It's a different theme. I don't want to give too much away. We're still going to, have it be familiar. It's not going to change completely. So there's still going to be 2 episodes, one on our feed and one on theirs. And they are releasing Monday, October 30th. And we are releasing the Friday before that, so October 27th. 2 different episodes on each other's podcast. It's going to be good. So make sure you guys are staying tuned and you're following them and be ready for some fun stuff. And then that brings us to the most exciting bit of news that I have to share with you. And that is that our Patreon is now live. So as of October 1st, it's going to be up and ready for you guys. This is the new platform for WTFs. So the first episode will be available on Wednesday, October 11th. There will be 2 episodes a month on that feed. And if you have a love for the fuckery, it's now going to be living on Patreon. So head over there and join us in all the fun and crazy stuff that goes on during those episodes. They're Bryce's favorites. They're a lot of people's favorites, honestly. They're fun. A little bit funner, a little bit lighter side of crime. And a huge thank you to everybody who supported us during the WTF seasons and, for making that possible. If you guys weren't listening to them and enjoying them as much, I don't think I ever would have wanted to separate them and make them a little more special. So thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Are we ready to get into this episode today?
Let's do it.
All right. So there's a Dateline episode that actually, literally last week aired. I watched it. It had a lot of information, on the family and what led up to the criminal aspect of things. So some of what I added to this is from that. But most of the news articles don't really have too many details on that info. This week, I have a story for you out of Camas, Utah. It's a beautiful area about 40 minutes away from Salt Lake City. And it's kind of known for outdoor activities, adult playground activities. So in the winter, it's winter wonderland, skiing and snowboarding, snow machining. And then in the summer months, it's hiking and outdoor sports, things like that. It's a very affluent area, I would say, because of that. And it seems to be an area that's just very idyllic for raising a family, is, all the pictures and everything that were shown on the Dateline, and also from all of the things that I researched. So this is where we will begin our story on Eric and Kouri Richins. And it's Kouri with a K.
Kouri with a K?
Yeah.
I hate him already.
And that's a she.
I hate her already.
Okay. So Eric Richins met his wife Kouri while she was working as a cashier in a home improvement store. Kouri, as she was described by a coworker, was a young and sweet girl. All of the men coming through the checkout line were enamored with her. And Eric was, at the time, an up-and-coming business partner for a stone masonry company. And when the two met at the checkout line, it seemed that, to everybody that there was just something special there. And because he was shy, he would send in his employees to the store to avoid seeing her. And eventually, he got up the courage to come in and ask for her phone number, and the two began dating. And it was very obvious to everybody that Kouri was just as taken with Eric. And it wasn't long before they were planning their future.
Future what?
Well, we'll get into that. Life was great for the couple. It seemed that they, just couldn't lose. In July of 2012, the year before they were married, they welcomed a son and they began their family. Their wedding was held with their close family and friends in the backyard of their new dream home. And when I say backyard, this backyard is like nobody else's backyard. So it's fairly large. It's a tennis court / basketball court. Mm-hmm. And alongside of that is an Olympic-sized pool looking huge thing.
That's it?
With a surrounding covered barbecue gathering area. And then alongside that was a little gated in small-ish garden area. Mm-hmm. And then there was a triple car garage next to that. And then just open playground area.
So a pretty small backyard.
Yeah, it was tiny. How they managed to fit a wedding back there, who knows? They would go on to welcome 2 more sons to their family in the coming years. They all, did the things that you would think of in a picture perfect life. They did small town sports. They did a lot of outdoorsy things in all the seasons. The kids were involved in all the little league, that kind of thing. The Richins home was, like I said, on a large parcel of land. So they were definitely living a lifestyle And Eric's business was growing and afforded them a comfortable lifestyle. So they were able to travel far and wide. They would go to Mexico a couple of times a year if they could, and many other places worldwide. And they also, enjoyed being close to home, and they had, the adult toys that they could go out and play with. Kouri had also began her own business in 2019 in real estate and was flipping homes in the area. And it seemed like, the couple was just living this very picture-perfect life until they weren't. In the early morning of March 4th, 2022, a 911 call would come in from the Richins home. Kouri had frantically made a call stating her husband was cold and unresponsive in the bed they shared. Emergency services and the sheriffs would respond to the call, while the 911 operator guided Kouri to move Eric to the floor and start performing CPR. Paramedics entered the home to find Eric on the floor of the couple's bedroom, not breathing, not responsive, and it was apparent after assessing him that he was deceased. The sheriff who responded to the call questioned Kouri, had her write a statement, which I thought was kind of odd, given they just entered the home and found her husband dead.
Maybe he was just trying to get an early jump on his paperwork.
Maybe. I don't know. I've never heard of that before. Not so quickly, I haven't heard of them.
Maybe he thought it was an open shut case. He's like, this is just routine.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, regardless, I think it was wise. I do think they should do that maybe more often, because people, the further away from a situation people get, the less they remember.
The less detail they remember.
So he has her write a statement about the events that happened the evening before. And she stated they both put their kids to bed around 9 p.m. that night, and that the two of them were celebrating a big business deal she had been working on that was going to be closing the next day. And Kouri says Eric had a drink, which was a Moscow Mule that she made him at around 9:15. And by 9:45, the two of them were in bed for the night. Big celebration.
9 o'clock, they put the kids down. 9:15. Everything seems too rigid.
Yeah, about 9:15, he was in bed. She brought him a drink, and then
Who drinks in bed?
I don't know. Not alcohol.
How long ago
don't.
was this?
This just happened in 2022.
Okay. It's not like 1960 or 1950 where they're wearing silk pajamas to bed.
In separate twin beds
twin
in
beds.
the room. No.
Takes his robe off and puts it on, hangs it up.
No, that's not what happened.
And
here.
he says goodnight to Wally and Beeve.
No.
Okay. Sorry,
No.
go.
I mean, I don't know the names of their children, but I doubt it was Wally and the Beaver.
Okay.
Yeah. Not long after they went to bed, one of their sons woke up from a nightmare, and Kouri ended up going to sleep with the son in his room to, comfort him and get him back to sleep. And she wrote in her statement that she and Eric said goodnight and I love you before she went into the son's room.
And stabbed him.
No. At 3 a.m., she made her way back to their room and went to cuddle in next to Eric. But he was cold and, she said, oddly heavy. She covered him with the blanket and she said his name, but she realized quickly that something was very wrong, and that is when she called 911. And the sheriff asked about any health concerns. Was there anything that could have caused this? Did he do drugs, prescription, or recreational? And Kouri states that sometimes he would take a gummy before bed, but she didn't know if he had taken one that night.
Gummy of what?
THC.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe he really likes
his vitamins.
Gummy bears. I don't know.
His multivitamins.
That's right.
Yeah.
Maybe he's taking his Flintstones. I don't know.
He likes the Flintstones.
I'm trying to rule out everything here, honey.
Yeah. It is mentioned that Eric suffered from Lyme disease. Other than that, he was completely healthy as far as anybody knew. And Kouri also relays that he had an allergy shot the day prior and had complained about his chest hurting. And that was odd, but didn't really seem to stop him from doing anything. He went about his day like normal.
Yeah.
With this information and the unknown cause of death and an otherwise healthy 39-year-old man, his body was taken in to undergo an autopsy and a toxicology workup. And the news of Eric Richins' death, shocks his family, his friends, and the community. He was pretty well known. It's a smaller community. So,
How old was he?
39.
30. That's it.
Yep. She was 33 at this time and he was 39.
Okay.
Yeah. And as you can imagine, people are like, what the hell happened? He's 39 years old. He's a healthy young man.
Yeah.
What's going on?
It's very, out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
Very unexpected too.
Yeah. And it really, people who had just seen him the day before were, just shocked because he seemed fine.
Seemed healthy.
Right. The first story that was spreading around was that he, quote unquote, died peaceful in his sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone seemed to rally around Kouri and the kids and, his family. And it didn't make sense. It was a huge blow and there was no sense to any of it. And some weeks after his death, it started circulating around that he had had a brain aneurysm in his sleep, and that was how he passed. So the community, that's as much as they know, and it just kind of goes from there. It just starts to, stop being discussed.
Yeah.
In the months after Eric's passing, Kouri and the boys tried to pick up and, go on with their lives. Kouri shares that it was very hard for them, especially at night. And she struggled to find ways to support and help them. And then she had this idea. She would write a children's book that would help kids during the grieving process. Mind you, I don't know her qualifications. I don't know if she has counselor qualifications, or I don't know if she was writing this from a perspective of a professional or just a person who had dealt with grief and whose children were dealing with grief. There's no way for me to know. The book is titled, Are You With Me? And it was written and released on Amazon as a ebook in the early part of this year. So the book was dedicated to Eric, her, quote, amazing husband and wonderful father.
Mm-hmm.
Kouri reached out to a local news outlet in Utah, a segment on the news called Good Things Utah. And she wanted to promote it and share the story and, get the news out there. Quote, this was a compelling story that could help other families deal with grief. In the book, there is a child who asks if his deceased father is still with him throughout events that he experiences in his life. And the father appears as a guardian angel. He's watching over, the child as he just kind of navigates daily through situations.
Yeah. That could either really help a kid or really mess him up.
And
I mean, he's watching me this whole time.
I know. That's kind of the thing. Like you think of these invisible guardian angels that are watching you, and I don't want to dispel anybody's beliefs in that or whatever. But yeah, you're right. To a child who doesn't understand, and maybe the concept is a little frightening, you really, I don't know that as a child I would have been comfortable with that,
No.
It's kind of freaky if you think about it.
That's just me and my cynicism.
Well, but that's what I say. I don't know. I don't know how this was written. If it was written in taking that into consideration, was there a professional like counselor or grief counselor, psychologist, or something that she consulted with, or?
I doubt it.
So that kind of stuff I'm leery of, because it might help. And of course, parents know their kids, but it might help or it might hurt.
Yeah.
And I do think it's a good idea to do something with your kids and for your kids who are grieving in this type of situation. Mm-hmm. I think that there are resources for that.
Yeah.
And there should be resources for that. Grief is very serious to a lot of emotions, a lot of,
But like you said, we don't know her qualifications.
I don't. I don't know.
It just seems weird. It just seems weird.
A little bit. I mean, it is a little bit odd. I don't know that my immediate response would be, I need to write a book. I'm going to help my kids grieve. by writing a book.
Yeah, it just seems weird.
I don't, but then again, I don't know. You know, I get weird ideas all the time about shit that I want to do.
Yeah.
You know, when I grow up, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up.
It changes every day. But, you know, it's a good idea, I guess. It's a good thought, you know?
Yeah. The intentions are there.
Yeah. So Kouri is invited onto the show to take part in a live segment where she shares the backstory of how the book came about and how she felt it was unique. This story, you know, hits home with the co-host and the show producers as they're all, you know, in like relationships, marriages, and have, you know, their parents of, you know, varying ages of children. But, you know, to lose a partner and to have to help, not only are you navigating your grief, but then you're helping your kids navigate their grief.
Yeah.
It's a double whammy. So everybody, you know, really empathized with her, how hard it would be for her and the boys.
Yeah.
And at this point, it's been a year since Eric passed. The community at large has just moved on from the tragedy. It isn't, you know, sensational news anymore. And most people have stopped talking about it in, you know, larger circles. To everyone on the outside, Eric seemingly passed very tragically, but in an explainable way. But we wouldn't be talking about it if there wasn't something more to the story.
Do tell.
And someone wasn't going to let it be forgotten. And the day after Kouri recorded the news segment for Good Things Utah, an email was sent to everyone at the news station with the subject line, "Are you with me?" which is the title of Kouri Richins' book.
Yeah.
In the email, in one sentence, in all caps, simply states, "You know she killed her husband."
Oh.
When we come back from this break, I will tell you just how twisted this story really is. In the year after Eric Richins' death, the small community of Camas slowly went back to normal. It was accepted that the 39-year-old husband and father had passed away of natural causes in his sleep. It was tragic and left the community unsettled, but what could be done but to support his family and move on? No one was aware that behind the scenes, the investigation was still wide open on his mysterious death.
Didn't get an autopsy back or anything?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I mentioned that due to the nature of his death, an autopsy and toxicology report was ordered. It was very quickly confirmed from that report that the cause of death was a drug overdose.
Damn, how many gummies did he eat?
I don't even know how many gummies you would have to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't overdose on those. You can get really fucked up.
You can get really fucked up. And you can overdose, can't you? I mean, maybe not die overdose, but
no.
You can overdose and be very sick.
Oh, yeah, you can get sick, but
there's a way to take too much.
Yeah. Yes.
So Eric did not have THC in his system.
Uh-oh.
He had 5 times the lethal amount of fentanyl.
Jesus.
Yeah. It's a shock to the family. Huge shock, as no one believes that he was using fentanyl. And there were no signs that he had ongoing drug use. Once this report is back, a warrant was sought to go back and search the home that he and Kouri shared. And this was just days after his death. They looked all over the main bedroom and the house, and there were no signs of drug paraphernalia or drugs. And this would be just the beginning of a year-long investigation into Kouri Richins. And of course, we all know it's common. Investigators start looking into the small circle of family and friends, and they start with the spouse, always.
Yeah.
A forensic accountant, I have never heard of this. Apparently, this is a job.
Yeah.
Is enlisted to research the finances for the couple. I mean, wouldn't you just say an accountant?
No, because he goes back and he can look at he or she, they can look at like transactions everywhere and then figure out where the money's going, even if you wash it or launder it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I actually know, I've heard of that job, and I've actually read a little bit about it.
I have never heard of anything such as that. It seems very boring, but also very cool.
No, because it's more about tracing than,
Yeah.
than like figuring out your finances. No, he's figuring out like what you're spending your money on. Did you make any transactions to say like what are they called? Those prepaid cards and
Right.
then what you paid for that?
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot that goes into it because you are looking at the transactions, but you're also following the money.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so following the money.
Yeah. So this is the first I've heard of that. It sounds very cool. What this forensic accountant finds at first is that everything that is, really apparent by the couple's lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Eric is successful in his company. It brings in roughly income of $1 million annually.
Jeez.
He is the clear supporter of the family lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
When they begin to dig a little deeper, they find that there are several lines of credit in Eric's name that are maxed out, both personal and business, and accounts that have been closed as unpaid. All of this seems a little odd in comparison to the business finances and lifestyle that Eric is maintaining.
Okay.
Then they start to look at Courtney's assets and finances. And her real estate business is not doing too well. So things start to click here. She apparently is in huge financial trouble to the tune of about $4 million. The forensic accountant can see records of high interest loans that Kouri has taken out, hasn't been able to pay back. She has also been able to get a fraudulent POA, so power of attorney, document and take a loan out against the house, like using the house as collateral for $250,000. There is evidence that she was accessing money in Eric's business accounts as well as personal accounts. It comes out that the celebration that Eric and Kouri were apparently having the night of his death was on the purchase of a large $20,000 or 20,000 square feet mansion that had been abandoned unfinished.
Really?
Yes. It was going to take millions of dollars to flip this, but this was like her dream goal to do. And Eric was known to be against this purchase. He was not happy about it. He did not want her to do it. She met with a notary public the day after his death to sign the paperwork for the purchase. And the best for last.
Oh.
There are as many as 5 and maybe more life insurance policies that she has taken out on Eric.
No.
Yeah. But what is more shocking than all of that is that Eric actually had prior knowledge to all of this.
No.
That
really?
she was doing this. Turns out that Eric was aware of the financial issues going as far back as 2020. So in September...
Just didn't say anything?
He didn't. In September of that year, Eric met with a lawyer and set up a living trust for his business holdings and personal finances. He set up one of his sisters, Katie, as the controlling person of the trust if anything should happen to him.
Oh.
He told the lawyer never to contact him personally, but instead to communicate through his sister. Stated in the trust, Kouri would receive next to nothing, not even the house that they lived in.
Oh.
This was all done to protect his sons and to keep her from taking the money.
Just blowing it.
Yeah. He apparently also met with a divorce lawyer, but nothing came of it. He didn't move forward with divorce proceedings.
Now, I'm just curious. Maybe you do know. She set up the life insurance policies, or did they set them up?
So that is still up for some discussion.
Yeah.
As you and I know, high dollar life insurance, like a lot of life insurance policies that aren't that high dollar, you can get without a physical.
Yeah.
But you start looking at the high paying life insurance policies, and he would have had to have gone for a physical. So one of these policies, apparently he did have to do a physical. Somebody did a physical.
Uh-oh.
Let's just say that. It is not, and I think more will come, and I'll kind of discuss that at the end, but it's not, somebody showed up for the physical. Let's put it that way.
Interesting.
He may have known about one of those policies.
Okay.
And that's, given that financially they seem to be, in a very high bracket.
Yes. Was it all just on paper money, or was it?
No, I mean, I think that he had other things pulled. Yeah. Like he had other resources that he pooled. Obviously, in a living trust, you set up multiple things with that. So otherwise I think it would have just been a will, Yeah. So Kouri knew none of this until after Eric's death. It all came to light when she hired a locksmith to get into a safe in the garage.
Uh-huh.
Now, the fact that you don't have access to that safe already tells me you shouldn't be getting into that safe.
No.
At the time, Eric's other sister, Amy, was at the home because this was just days after he passed.
Okay.
She stopped Kouri in her tracks by telling her she had no right to anything in the safe, let alone the house, as it was all being controlled in the trust. There was an alleged fight that broke out between the two. Amy claims that Kouri punched her in the face. Kouri counters that it was a shove. Regardless, the assumption was that Kouri was desperate to get into that safe and to access any money that may be in it. And this wild behavior that Eric's family claims Kouri had in the days after his death leads them to take their concerns to law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
Investigators learned that Eric had warned family members that if something did happen to him, if he were to die, they would need to look at Kouri as the primary person of interest.
Oh, shit.
He was worried that she may kill him as there was a prenup that was signed the day they married that entitled her to more money than if they simply divorced. Apparently, there was also a concern of a prior attempt to poison him.
How long ago was this?
Just a few months prior to this. And yes, I don't understand why he stayed. So he and Kouri were having dinner that she made. And apparently he began having problems with breathing and broke out in hives and ended up having to use one of their son's EpiPens.
Is he allergic to something? Peanuts?
It didn't say that he had an allergy, and it didn't say why they had the EpiPen or anything, but that was a story that was alleged. Of course, he can't corroborate that. He's no longer here to do so. But if that is the case, and that is something that he thought was happening,
why the hell did he stay then?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm just not sure. And it's hard because now he can't say, As investigators are piecing more things together through, phone records and searches, computer searches of the home, more odd things were found that could be connected to Kouri being the murderer. Phone records show searches made to questions such as, quote, death certificates are pending. Will life insurance still pay? Quote, what happens to deleted messages? Quote, prisons for rich Americans. And my favorite, quote, can police make you take a lie detector test?
Yes.
There were also text and phone calls between a person who was employed to clean homes by Kouri, who has a known criminal record. She has a record for selling and using drugs. Police were able to make contact with this person who corroborated their suspicions and gave statements to the effect that this person supplied the fentanyl that they found in Eric's system to Kouri on 2 occasions, one of them being just days prior to his death, the other one being just prior to Valentine's Day, which is when the other incident allegedly occurred. There is also a check made out to this person that is dated 2 days after his death for $1,300. It does say on there that it is for her completing like a cleaning service job.
Mm-hmm.
Very coincidental in the timeline of things.
Really?
Yeah. Just over 1 year after Eric's death, Kouri wrote an email to investigators that would further, quote unquote, clarify some things they had been asking her. In it, she detailed some reasons for some of her lavish trips taken in the past year, as well as other questions. In this email, she claims she just wants to be able to move on, quote, without looking over my shoulder constantly for you guys, end quote. And this was just 2 months after her TV appearance for her book.
It's not normal behavior.
No. Kouri Richins was arrested at the end of April of this year for charges related to the murder of her husband, Eric. It is suspected that she laced his drink on the night of his death, the Moscow Mule that he had while he was in bed, with the fatal dose of the fentanyl. She is being held currently without bail due to the nature of the charges and the piling amount of evidence on her. As of today, as of this recording, from what I can see, there is no plea that she has entered on her behalf of these charges. In fact, there was an addition to the trouble that she may be facing, as there is now an accusation of her trying to tamper with testimony. There was recently found a 6-page letter to a family member encouraging them to testify that Eric had purchased pain medication and fentanyl during one of their trips to Mexico.
Really?
Yes. In a motion filed by the state attorneys, the letter states that the family member would need to create a story and embellish it to be convincing, which the prosecution states amounts to witness tampering. So, to be fair, Kouri has not gone to trial. She has not been found guilty or not guilty of these crimes. This is still unfolding and will likely be a topic of discussion for quite some time. This has made national news now. Obviously, the Dateline episode just aired. Kouri's lawyers state that there is no motive for her to want to kill her husband, that he was worth more to her alive than dead.
Right.
They also claim that the person who is claimed to have sold the fentanyl to Kouri and received payment for that is not a reliable source.
No, she's a criminal.
She's a criminal. She was just, in fact, arrested also around the same time on drug-related charges, and that the police could have coerced her into making these statements.
Mm-hmm.
Her lawyer has also stated that the evidence presented of the searches of her phone and computer do not prove that she is the person who made the searches. And with the most recent motion filed, her law team stated that the letter was found in an illegal search and seizure of her room and violates the confidentiality between her and her lawyer, as the envelope that the letter was in was marked attention to her lawyer.
Okay.
They also claim that the letter was not mailed, so it could not be considered witness tampering. As for Kouri, she claims that it is not a letter at all. She claims that so this was in a recorded call to her mother, because all calls in prison are recorded and then transcribed.
Yep.
She claims that this is part of a book that she's writing. So she's just on that author kick, and she's going to write the next novel. She claims that she told her family when she first got into jail that she was going to write a book about a mystery. And in that book, her husband is on pain pills and fentanyl, and he gets it in Mexico. That's her story.
Okay.
This is also not the only legal trouble that Kouri is in.
No. Does it have anything to do with failing real estate business?
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
Yeah. 6 months prior to her arrest on the murder charges, a lawsuit was filed on behalf of the purchasers of the first flipped home that Kouri and her real estate company sold. The couple that purchased the home alleged that she knowingly sold them a home with damage that would result in a severe mold infestation.
Oh.
Their family suffered from serious medical issues for several months after moving in. They have children.
Mm-hmm.
So especially their son, whose room was in the basement, where there are pictures where they've removed carpet and pad and it's just black.
Okay. Par for the course. She's just a
scary.
horrible person.
Yeah. It would later come out that Kouri was more than likely aware to the damage in some text messages, and that her family the family was made aware that she had failed to ensure that the correct permits were obtained to fix the damage to the home. So the person that she bought the home from said he was happy because the price that she gave him was so good, knowing all of the damage, that the roof had damage and there was structural damage, and one of the bathrooms had not been used for quite some time because of water damage.
So she knew all this.
And she knew all that. And she did not obtain the correct permits, or whoever did the contract work for her did not obtain the correct permits to fix all of that damage. All that her lawyers say, and Kouri has not responded personally, is that this is all unfounded. It's untrue. That family that bought that house states that they are now facing financial ruin, and they have no hope of recouping their losses now that she is in prison and facing a trial for murder. They have had to leave their home due to severe illnesses and rent another one while paying their mortgage and attempting to make, some construction fixes to this home. So they've replaced windows, they've replaced, they've had to rip down drywall and fix the problem with the mold and then replace the drywall.
They're basically not getting it.
They're fucked.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, they're screwed. They had hoped, because they filed this 6 months prior to her being arrested for murder, they hoped that they would be able to fix something, but I highly doubt that she's in a position to address that lawsuit now or pay them any restitution.
No, it'll be okay. She said she's innocent, so she'll probably get off of it.
I mean, she might be innocent. That's the thing. I don't know.
I doubt
I'm
that.
presenting the evidence that they've found, and it seems highly suspicious. There also is just no mention of them looking at any other suspect or any other possibility.
Yeah.
The autopsy showed that he died from this death of an overdose, but, it was the result of the overdose. There was no aneurysm. There were no other health concerns that, from what I can see, I did not get to read the report because this is still part of an ongoing trial.
Okay.
But there's no mention of any other health concerns that could have killed him.
So you're going to give us an update?
Once we have one, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. It's definitely interesting. I think that she seemed to be like most people who commit these crimes. They think they're not going to get caught. They interject themselves into the spotlight over and over again.
Oh, yeah.
So, she closes on this multi-million-dollar potential deal the day after his death and continues to lead a very lavish lifestyle with trips that she takes, which she claims some of them are for sports things that were already planned for her sons. And if that's true, I get that. You wouldn't want to disappoint them if it's something that they're looking forward to. Apparently, one of them was in Spain for a soccer camp.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, again, that's the lifestyle they're living. If that was something that was planned, I get it. But it is interesting that she would contact a news outlet so that they could interview her on her book. I thought that was just ego mania, like out of control.
Huge ego.
Yeah. But I don't know. Again, maybe you're just trying to spread the word and you really thought that you had something that was helpful for other children that are grieving. And I could see it both ways. I could see it. I could see where it definitely seems like they have enough evidence to get a conviction.
Yeah. Not in her mind, though. She's totally innocent.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how you explain that money will make you do things. It'll make you do very bad things.
Mm-hmm.
And when you need it, you don't care where it comes from or who you screw to get it.
No.
So it's unfortunate, because at the end of the day, these boys have lost their father and now they've lost their mother.
Mm-hmm.
And
all because of their mother.
And neither one of them are going to be back in their life like their lives the same. So their father, of course, is gone, but their mother, even if she is not guilty or if she serves a prison sentence and she's gone for a long time, there is now this absence, you know. And I think that they have the support of, you know, his family is seems very involved, but I think they're young, but I think they're old enough that this will stay with them for, you know, and affect them.
Oh,
in
most
ways.
Definitely.
And that's what's
especially with
really
all the
sad.
media coverage. It's not like you can live that down. You can always they'll probably, when they get older, just Google it.
Oh, I'm sure if they don't already. I mean, their oldest is old enough to be able to navigate that kind of stuff. So, you know, at the end of the day, these kids are the victims here. He's a victim. Eric was a victim of something. I think that's pretty obvious, but their kids are a victim, and it's really unfortunate that that's who pays the price, you know. These kids pay the price because of adults making poor decisions. So it's hard. I am very curious to see how this plays out.
Me
because
too.
it sounds like there will be some more twists and turns, honestly, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, that's all we got for you this episode. Make sure that you are looking out for our social media. Everyone, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. Make sure to find us everywhere you get your podcast. Join us on social media. Let us know what your thoughts are in this case. And remember, we are now on Patreon, so find us over there with the WTFs. And as always, we want to say we appreciate you. Thank you. Stay safe, everybody, and stay out of the damn woods.
No woods.
Bye, guys.
Bye.